Now, today's top stories and Power of 5 weather from News 5. Sponsored by Akron Children's Hospital.
Good Sunday morning, Northeast Ohio, on this first Sunday in June. It was actually on a Sunday in June back in 1969 when this happened. The last known fire on the Cuyahoga River. Truth be told, it really wasn't that big, but it would soon become synonymous with the city and lead to the very environmental changes that we continue to benefit from today. This News 5 film represents the only pictures that exist of the Cuyahoga River fire on June 22, 1969. That is in part because it was almost an afterthought. The story of a fire on a river today would be national news, but in 1969, it was a Sunday. It wasn't the worst fire in the river, and it most certainly wasn't the first, but what it was the last, because it came at a time when the mood in America was changing about the condition of our waterways of the Cuyahoga. It was about to become the poster child. A story would appear less than 6 weeks later in Time magazine, showing the river ablaze, images that would shock a nation into action. Truth be told, the massive flames they showed with tugboats ablaze was not the 1969 fire, but one 17 years earlier in 1952. Nevertheless, Cleveland Mayor Carl Stokes and his newly elected Congressman brother Lewis would go before Congress demanding action, helping to get passed the Clean Water Act and the very creation of the Environmental Protection Agency, which lists on its webpage the '69 fire as one of the key events in its formation. Now, in the early 80s, the EPA would go on to classify what they felt were the worst Great Lakes waterways as areas of concern. Ohio had 4 of them: Cuyahoga River clearly, the Ashtabula, Maumee, and the Black Rivers as well, and cleanup on them began almost immediately. And just last summer, we were there when the Ashtabula River became the first of the 4 to be delisted after a 33-year, $67.5 million cleanup. Get this, they removed 14,000 pounds of cancer-causing PCPs from the Ashtabula River and enough hazardous sediment to fill 350 football fields a foot thick. Now, the Sunday morning environmental lesson is actually a long-winded way to talk about that sediment. You see, one of the next rivers expected to be delisted as an area of concern is the Black River in Lorain, and leaders there have realized that sediment, that river bottom, which was once a hazardous material, is now actually something of value.
There's the good stuff.
This may look like regular dirt to you, but to the folks in Lorain, it is gold, or at very least dirt that you might one day buy to place in your garden. In 2020, the site was part of a pilot program where the city of Lorain created what's called a geopool, where sediment dredged out of the Black River was placed into the geopool, which acted like a giant coffee filter.
And that geopool will dewater the dredge material and produce a sellable soil material that can then be introduced into the market.
In order to maintain deep enough waters for shipping, local rivers and ports are constantly being dredged. The sediment that came out of the Black River each year used to be dumped out in the lake, but that was creating another problem.
That material has a lot of nutrients in it, and those nutrients help feed algal blooms.
So the Ohio legislature voted in 2015 that starting in 2020, you could no longer dump dredge material back into the lake, prompting Lorain to try this geopool concept, which proved to be a success.
So there'll be 8 of these, but even larger.
Lorain is on the receiving end of $15 million in federal funds to get the project started with an eye towards completion in 2024. In the end, it will be able to handle all 75,000 cubic yards of sediment dredged out of the Black River each year and converted into topsoil.
This is a really groundbreaking project. This is the only site of a geopool that's going to be in the United States.
And at very least, it's a project that city leaders expect to pay for itself initially, but down the road,
We're also hoping that somewhere along the future, we're going to be able to actually turn a profit. Topsoil is expensive, so I'm hoping that someday Lorain topsoil is being sold at garden centers and generates some money back to our city.
how far we have come in 53 years. Well, today is June 5th, and 7 months from today, your Cleveland Browns will be preparing to close out their regular season against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and you will be able to legally bet on the outcome right here in Ohio. While there was hope that sports betting might start earlier than January 1st, this week the Casino Control Commission made it official. It will be New Year's Day.
So I'm proud to announce that that date is January 1st.
Without debate or discussion, the Ohio Casino Control Commission removed the legislature's no later than designation from that January 1st sports betting start date, making it the official date sports betting will come online. One big reason was because of another legislative requirement in the act.
The commission is aware that some stakeholders, specifically many online operators, have fewer preparations to make leading up to launch and could possibly start sooner. However, pursuant to House Bill 29, all forms of sports gaming must have the opportunity to launch on the exact same date.
Northeast Ohio's 2 Jack properties have been getting gamblers ready with their free Bet Jack app, where people can get a feel for sports betting using tokens right now instead of money. They would have been ready for an earlier start than January 1st, but they understand.
We understand that the commission is there to put appropriate regulations in place. It's a brand new industry, and we think it's important for us to get off on the right foot as opposed to rush something and maybe screw it up.
This will be the largest simultaneous rollout of sports betting in the nation's history, and with background investigations and comprehensive compliance examinations into the expected 3,000 licensees, they want to take their time. That being said, industry analysts say the state's leaving money on the table.
If it would have launched by November 1st, we're talking about $1 billion, and that's probably a conservative estimate of extra bets that would have been made in those 2 months. You know how much people in Ohio care about their football.
And by the way, January 1st also happens to fall on a Sunday, so look for a lot of bets to be placed on that first day on the Browns versus the Washington Commanders. And while we're on it, the BetJack app right now has the Browns tied for the 5th best odds to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Just saying. With Democracy 2022, I'm John Kasich. Enjoy your Sunday.
This morning we are waking up to cloudy conditions across Northeast Ohio and even a couple of very light showers. This is most likely this morning. During the afternoon, I expect decreasing clouds and warmer temperatures, upper 70s, a couple low 80s as well, even warmer tomorrow, 86 degrees. Most of Monday looks dry, especially the daytime hours. Rain and some thunderstorms increase as we move into Monday night and Tuesday. You can see this here, that early this morning, lots of clouds, but we'll break apart those clouds during the afternoon. Warm fronts boosting up our temperatures. The brief break in the clouds doesn't last long. We'll increase the clouds tomorrow. There's the rain at 4 p.m. Pretty far to the west still, and it's going to be increasing Monday night and into Tuesday. Severe weather is not all that likely due to the timing of this system, but we will likely see some bouts of heavy rain, a few spots over 1 inch. So we'll be monitoring for any flooding the rest of the week, cooler than normal.
Sponsored by Akron Children's Hospital.